Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series.
Hey everyone, welcome to the still totally unnamed podcast. I'm Adam Koralik.
Hey, and I'm Chip Senkbeil.
Yes, this is Chip. And believe it or not, we're in the same room.
That's probably why we'll both sound good.
Yeah, it'll sound good for once. We are both in Texas. It's fun. It's awesome being here. This is our first post-Remy podcast. I'm very sad about that, but...
Got the single tear falling down right now.
It is sadness, but we miss you, dude. But yeah, it's cool that we get to do this podcast in the same room, man. So we're going to talk a little bit about hanging out together first before we start talking about video games and stuff. But we will. First up, we're going to talk about... So yeah, I'm in Texas, and Chip's been taking me around to a bunch of places. We went to game stores. We've eaten a lot of food.
A lot of food, a lot of game stores.
Yeah.
Not food at game stores.
No, you don't eat at a game store. If they are offering food, you don't do that. You leave.
Although it could be tasty in Texas.
It's possible. Texas has insanely good food. Obviously, they're known for like the barbecue and the Mexican food, tacos. Well,
Definitely.
I mean, Mexico's also known for that, but Texas, on this side of the border,
is Mexico really known for tacos, or is that one of those things that people from the United States think Mexico?
I didn't say Mexico is known for tacos. I said Mexico is known for Mexican food.
I thought you said Mexico is known for tacos.
No, Mexico's known for Mexican food.
Okay, I was about to say that was a really bad thing you just said.
No,
okay,
Mexico is known for Mexican food.
Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way.
I just want to. These are kind of the deep conversations we have here.
What was your favorite food while you were here?
Oh man, I actually am probably gonna go with these. All right, so he took me to this. What was the name of that place we went to today? This morning.
This morning. Kirby Lane.
Kirby Lane. All right, so I ordered like some French toast, and it came with like a side of some sort of mutant egg thing, and I wasn't thinking much of it, right? I
think it was like migas with cheese.
Right. Okay, so I was like, oh yeah, okay, sure, get that as my side. I didn't even care. And generally when I'm eating something, I eat like the thing I don't care about much first, and then I save like the part I care about a lot for last, which is why I'm fat, but whatever. So I get that, the side thing, and it was like the most delicious egg meal I've ever had in my entire life. I couldn't stop eating it, and as soon as it was over, I was like actually sad, because then I had to turn to the French toast and be like, well, this is gonna suck.
He actually ate green peppers, which apparently Adam does not like.
Green peppers are poison. They are awful. I hate them. They were inside of it, but they were minced so finely that they did not offend the senses.
See, I really think your taste buds have changed since you came to Texas. No. Now you're going to wish you had green peppers and everything.
No, I absolutely not.
And asparagus on your pizza.
No, that's disgusting and vile. Asparagus is a fine thing. Pizza is a beautiful thing. They have no reason to exist together.
Unless you want to eat them together.
Which is, you should never do. It was awful, but no, that was the greatest meal I've ever had in Texas. And then we had the French toast was fine too. Don't get me wrong. And then the waitress came over and she spilled all these drinks on me. It was funny.
Alcoholic drinks.
Yeah, I smelled like booze all day, and I don't even drink.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and then we we drove up to Dallas, and we checked out the Kennedy Memorial thing. You know, where the assassination happened. And then,
it's pretty interesting. They had three different X's on the road, right?
Yeah, from the 3 different shot points. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever been to Dallas, or if you ever gone there, Daley Plaza, where he was shot, like that place is really untouched since the assassination. There's a museum on the 6th floor of the book depository, which is where he was shot.
That you cannot take pictures or anything else.
They don't tell you that until after you buy the ticket. I think that's pretty intentional, because I would have. But yeah, that was pretty cool. If you're ever down there and you're into history at all, that's definitely something to see. And then pretty much as soon as we were done with that, we just headed right back here.
Now we did stop at 2 different places on the way back.
We did. Well, it was
some sort of Czech
a Czech
bakery in a gas station.
Bakery, yeah, that was pretty good. I had Klotchkis. I'm sure if we have any Czech Republic fans, they're gonna know that.
Yep.
Although we might have butchered the pronunciation.
I'm sure. Although it was started originally by a bunch of people from what is the country?
The Czech Republic.
There we go. But obviously the people that we had serving us at that point were just some people that just needed a job.
Yeah, they didn't appear to be Chechens.
No.
Or no, they're not. That's not Chechnya. Chechnya is a different thing. Czechoslovakia was a country. There's Czech Republic. It gets convoluted.
That's what was confusing me. I've heard of Czechoslovakia.
Czechoslovakia doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, okay.
There's the Czech Republic and there's Slovakia.
When did that happen?
Sometime like after World War II.
Oh, okay. I totally blanked out on history.
Sometime I think it was during the Cold War.
Oh.
But then there's Chechnya, which is a completely different thing. Anyway, so we went there. We also went to like
Buc-ee's.
Oh, it's Buc-ee's. I thought it was like Weasels.
No,
Buc-ee's
you thought it was a weasel.
No, he turns out he's like a beaver or something.
Yep.
This little cartoon mascot that's on top of this gas station. That's
And
like,
it's a very big gas station. They have probably like 50 pumps or something.
yeah, and it's like inside. It's like a really weird like
Walmart.
store. It's like a Walmart,
Yeah,
like but
mini Walmart.
localized. And the only thing we saw in there that really made us laugh was this bottle of like barbecue sauce. I'll throw up a picture of that right now. All right, so let me read this to you. Rufus Teague made some sauce. He put some in a jar and shared it with the boys. They kept on painting him till he fixed up another batch. Next thing he knew, he's making sauce all the time. It's damn good.
The most beautiful thing to quote ever.
It's hilarious. We just thought that was funny. Unfortunately, couldn't buy a bottle. I have no idea. I heard it's actually pretty good. But I can't bring a bottle back just because you can't bring them on planes.
Yep. The sad truth.
It is. Anyway, so yeah, Texas has been a lot of fun so far. And but now let's talk about some video games, right? You guys probably like video games a little bit. So the first subject we've got here is interesting. It's all right. So Chip, I don't know how familiar you are with this. So like Call of Duty games, a little bit of a popular franchise, a little bit.
Sure.
So I guess Call of Duty 4, aka Call of Duty Modern Warfare, is like the one everybody loves. It's like big. I personally, Call of Duty 2 is my favorite, but that's because I don't really play anything online. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Call of Duty Modern Warfare is like a super popular one, and everybody has wanted a complete like next gen remaster of that game like for a really long time, and they finally agreed to do it. But it's only available as a digital thing if you buy the collector's set. I believe it's the collector's set of the new Call of Duty game, which I believe is like not Advanced Warfare, but something like that. There's a new Call of Duty game. I'm sorry, I don't have the name of the new game in front of me. But it's attached to that, which bothered a lot of people. So a lot of people thought, okay, you know what I'll do is I'll just buy the collector's set. I'll download that game because it comes with a little code, and then I'll sell back the other copy and get some of the money back, right? Well, they announced very recently that you can't do that. The digital copy of Modern Warfare's remaster will be tied to the disc of the new game in an effort to make sure nobody resells the game.
So I wonder why they care so much about forcing people to buy one game just to get the other one. And it's very obvious most people are going to buy this game just to be able to play the other download they can get, right? You think then they just milk the new definition of the other game. I guess they're going to get a lot of money because people are going to buy the game, the existing game they don't want to play at full price, and then pay more money to get the other one, right? Or is I've already forgot. Is it free or do you have to pay more?
You have to pay more. You have to pay. Okay. I think it's the regular edition's like $60, and then to get the remaster with it, you have to pay like $80.
So literally they're using this to basically sell a game for $80.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty low blow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm curious. Would this push more people just to try to pirate the digital version of the game? Don't know.
I don't know, man. The theory I heard on this made a lot of sense. Apparently, Call of Duty sales have been going down every few years, like every year, which makes sense. I mean, it comes out every year. You might as well call it like Call of Duty 2K17 at this point. Like, it should just have a number. But what a lot of people are saying was that they think this is a good way. This is a way that Activision intends to at least get one more really, really lucrative year out of Call of Duty, is by forcing people to do this to get the one they actually want.
I mean, I feel like they're burning even more bridges than they're going to get money out of. Right?
Yeah, but maybe they think that the franchise is going to come to its end really soon, or at least the next one after this will just be like, who cares? You'll have Call of Duty fatigue. Personally, I stopped buying Call of Duty games years ago because I don't play online, so that aspect of it never mattered to me.
And the campaigns got worse and worse.
Yeah,
and worse.
the single player offline campaigns kept getting horrendous. The last one I played all the way through was Call of Duty Ghosts. And I did that like a few years after it had been out, and I was just like, "This is hilariously terrible as a campaign." But because I'm sure it wasn't made for guys like me. You know, the ones I liked a lot were Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty World at War, which is like everybody's like least favorite game. Like I loved it. The single player campaign in that game was fantastic, but most people never bothered. They just played the online stuff.
Yeah, I've never really played a Call of Duty game. Yeah. Not my style.
Yeah. I don't really like FPSs that much in general, but those I really enjoyed. But that's because I like history more so than FPSs, I guess.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, so in short, I think that's unfortunate for people who really want that. I think it's kind of shady, but I mean, I get why they're doing it. I don't like it, but I get it. Yeah, but to be honest, I wouldn't even really care if I ever had a Call of Duty remaster.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care at all.
Sorry, guys. Anyway, so I guess we'll just move on because we don't have much else to say about that. The next subject was brought to us by Corey Marsh. He is a Patreon backer who gets to pick a subject for us every month.
Hooray!
Yes. Now, he saw my Framemeister video I did not too long ago, where I was talking about how great the Framemeister is. In short, if you missed that video, the Framemeister is a box that takes your old video game consoles, you connect it to that, and it makes them look a lot better. And it depends on how you connect your cables, right?
You should absolutely use composite with it.
You should not use composite. That's a side rant here. Why do you use composite with your Framemeister? Why? I'm looking at his Framemeister right now. He doesn't own a single RGB SCART cable. He's got everything plugged in through composite. He's like, oh, it's easy.
Yeah, you just said the reason. It's easy. I'm lazy.
It's terrible.
Okay, so here's the background. So I have a PC Engine Duo. It has composite output. And I used to have this really cheap box that was composite to HDMI. Had a thunderstorm in Texas, and apparently I just somehow destroyed my box, so it stopped working with the PC Engine. Because it did work earlier. So I'm like, I need a new box. And I was like, oh, I need one that won't just die from something small. I don't even know if it was the thunderstorm, it just happened around the same time. I'm like, well, I've heard good things about the Framemeister, and so I'm going to definitely go get one. And so I did, and I supported composite, I plugged it in, and it works. And that's why I wanted it.
Ugh.
I know, you're so ecstatic by that.
I'm grossed out because you could be doing it so much better. Anyway, the point is, in the video, I showed you how you can do it so much better. But I also showed this older box that I had been using, which was just a generic SCART to HDMI adapter, similar to the generic composite to HDMI adapter that Chip was just mentioning, except mine was using SCART, therefore it was infinitely better, because that's just the reality of how those cables work. And Corey really wanted us to discuss how much worse this cheaper box really is. So the thing is, the Framemeister costs around like $400 US, right? And the cheaper box only costs like $50. So the temptation to just go with that is hard to ignore. It gives you a substantially better image than using things like composite cables. So like honestly, you could actually get an infinitely better picture out of the cheap box with SCART cables than even Chip is getting with composite in the Framemeister. Chip. You should be getting some damn SCART cables again.
One day.
Just do it. Just do it.
But I'm lazy.
He is lazy. It's impressive. It is really impressive how lazy this man is.
Like, how do I love?
I actually respect his level of lazy. It's like he goes out of his way. He works hard to be lazy. It's weird.
I do try.
He tries really hard to not try.
Exactly.
It's impressive. But anyway, yeah, so the SCART box, the cheaper one, it's not bad. Like, I did videos on it, and it worked. It was pretty good. It blew me away the first time I used it because I had never seen RGB cables before. And in North America, that's a complete mystery. Like, in Europe, you guys had that, if you're European viewers. So RGB was, like, no big deal to you. But to us, it was, like, magical because we didn't have it. So that was the first time it allowed me to tap into it. And it looked fantastic. But when you compare it to the Framemeister, it's a night and day difference. Like, the Framemeister is substantially better. That said, I would still recommend it as a fallback. Like, if you're thinking about making your old game consoles look good, and you want to start in on that process of, like, maybe I'll start dabbling in RGB, particularly if you're in the US or Canada, you should look into that cheaper box, man. Like, it's a good way to learn a lot about the tech and really see if those kind of jumps are worth the effort and worth the money. I actually wouldn't recommend that if you've never used RGB or if you've never thought about upgrading your video cables that you just jump into a Framemeister, because that's a really big investment. And you might do it the way Chip did, where you bought the Framemeister and then you never bothered getting all the cables, so it's fucking useless. I don't know why you would do that. Bad, Chip. Bad.
But it works.
Yeah, it does technically work in the sense that a cable connects to it and then you see an image on the television. That's technically accurate.
There you go. That is working.
It's working, but it's working poorly. But yeah, so the cheapo box it's not that bad. It's just not as good as the Framemeister. Is really the only way I could put it. It has disadvantages, like it stretches the image. I noticed that as mine got older, it wasn't as good at handling white images anymore. It started tinting them red for some reason.
Huh, that's weird.
But yes, that I don't know how much of a common flaw that is. But yeah, that was a disadvantage. Whereas the Framemeister doesn't do that, and the Framemeister allows you to adjust all sorts of profiles and everything. There's a bunch of pre-downloadable profiles you can get to install for each console to max them out and everything. So Framemeister is a substantially better device, but for a cheaper alternative, if you just want to get into the tech, yeah, then you probably go with the generic SCART to HDMI adapter because that thing's only like $50, and it won't break your wallet.
There you go.
Yeah, so there you go, Corey. That's basically it. It's not an awful machine. It's just not nearly as good. So next up, a lot of people have been asking us to talk about this. Actually, no, wait. Do you have any other thoughts on the cheapo box versus the Framemeister? As a Framemeister owner.
Well, the Framemeister doesn't have VGA, which is disappointing.
Oh, he's so right. Like that's an absolute. That is, if I had to critique the Framemeister on any one thing, it would be that it has no way to access VGA input. Because that would be amazing for the Dreamcast.
Yep.
And technically the Apple Pippin. But aside from that...
That no one owns but you.
Yeah, I have an Apple Pippin. Hey, Remy, what up? You know what I'm talking about. That's right. That's right. Apple Pippin Company represent.
So sad.
It is, but it's awesome. But yeah, because those are the only two consoles where their maximum output is VGA. But yeah, with the Dreamcast in particular, that would be amazing. So unfortunately, the Dreamcast is still kind of exempt from being able to utilize the Framemeister properly.
Yeah, you can use SCART and it'll look probably pretty good. Because I know at some point you were showing that SCART on the Framemeister looked better than something else.
No, here's the thing. All right, so if you get the Toro, which is a VGA box for the Dreamcast that also has SCART built into it, those dudes, the Bahar Bros, figured out a way to run a VGA signal through a SCART cable, which is something that previously thought to be like impossible, but these guys did it. And I've tested it myself. I know it works. So if you run that through the Framemeister, essentially you have the Dreamcast running through VGA through a Framemeister. I didn't do enough extensive tests with that, but I do know that it actually does work. But
so do that then.
Yeah, you
or
could,
use composite.
Don't use composite. Just don't do that. That part's the incorrect answer.
All the composite are for you.
Oh. And with that, we will move on because there's too many people who are going to walk away from this. Like, okay, composite. Yeah, okay. All on the recommendation of Chip.
That's right.
So the next subject is something I've gotten a lot of emails about. A lot of people comment on it. A lot of people brought it up in our live show that we did.
That's right.
If you guys missed it, check out the live show we did. It's essentially another free podcast that we did. It was like 2.5 hours long.
It was very long.
It was fun, though. It was a lot of fun. But a lot of people were asking about the NES Mini. And I guess we also decided we could also talk about the Famicom Mini. So first up, if you're not aware, the NES Mini is a little clone console Nintendo is putting out that has, I think it's 30 pre-built NES games in it, and it runs through HDMI. It's just a clone console. That's all it is. But a lot of people are like really excited about it. Chip, are you excited about it?
Not really. The games themselves, I think, are pretty. I think they have like Mega Man 2 in there.
There's some legitimate titles for sure.
They actually picked some good quality games, but I mean, for me, I've actually not really found the NES library that exciting because I grew up with Super Nintendo. Mm-hmm. So to me, anything before Super Nintendo on the home console is not really that interesting. So yeah, I mean, it's cool. It'd probably be nice for people that don't emulate games already. But to be honest, I mean, if you already emulate, you shouldn't be that excited about this. Although supposedly it does clean up some of the games a bit better.
How's that?
I don't know.
All right.
But that's something I think I remember reading somewhere. Or at least, do you know what the video output is for it?
HDMI.
So another advantage there is that you do get HDMI output. So if you do have an NES and you don't have some of these games, or you have some of the games, but you want it to go to HDMI, I think it's supposed to clean up a little bit. For it.
The only way that thing would ever excite me is if modders got their hands on it and they found a way to run a cartridge slot into it. Huh. So you could actually run cartridges on it. Then I would actually be interested, but that's like the same thing as like the Atari Flashback 2. Remember I was telling you about that thing?
Yeah, it's like the only one with the guy that's the slot available.
If you guys don't know this, the only clone console to ever hit the market that I actually had any respect for, because I hate clone consoles. I hate them because they're just little chips. No, I'm sorry, Chip. Not
I'm
you.
so sad.
It's not. It has not this chip. This is a good chip. You have to know the difference between a good chip and a bad chip. A bad chip is when you get these clone consoles. They don't have like actual like processors and stuff inside. They don't have actual circuitry. What they have is just like a single chip that essentially emulates and replicates all the functions of all the other chips, which might sound like progress, but it's not. It's essentially just a chip running an emulator, usually very poorly. In a lot of cases, they used what's called an NOAC, which stands for Nintendo on a Chip. In fact, famously, a lot of the Atari ones run basically that'll be a little plastic box that looks like an Atari 2600, but inside it's got a single chip that is running NES hardware or replicating NES hardware, and then they wrote an Atari 2600 emulator for the NES, and as a result the games don't work really well. And there's even ones that replicate 7800 games on NES hardware, which run really badly because it's essentially it's kind of like trying to get N64 games to run on a PS1. It's like the same generation. Yeah, but they not enough people care because not enough people remember those consoles that well or that fondly, I guess. So I have no respect for clone consoles. Even things like the Retron 5, I hate them. I think they're junk. They shouldn't exist. That thing is just a bunch of pirated emulators running in a box. I hate it. I don't respect those things. The one I did like, the only one I had any respect for, was the Atari Flashback 2. And the reason for that is that the guy who designed it, he thought, I don't want to do another NOAC. I hate those things, just like I do. So he actually designed what really can be considered a new, fully functional Atari 2600 board, like from the straight up. Like he did all the not original parts from like the 70s, but he essentially made new parts that would be like a perfect replica of an Atari 2600. And he even made he went out of his way to make soldering points so that you could install a cartridge slot. He designed the whole thing, so it's like a modder's best friend because he just made it really easy for them to be able to put cartridges in there. And the only reason you might want to do that, A, because it's newer parts, it's like 30 years newer. And B, it had composite in it. Obviously, a format.
Composite.
Obviously, a format I hate, but it is vastly superior to the limits of RF, which is what the 2600 always had.
So, ladies and gentlemen, get composite.
No,
all the time.
Get an Atari Flashback 2 and mod it for a cartridge slot so that you can run 2600 games through composite. Or, better yet, get an Atari 7800 and mod it for S-Video.
Oh.
There you go. That's the better one.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's the only clone console I respect. The NES Mini could be the next. I don't care about it in its current state. It's not capable of playing cartridges. I either have all those games or don't care enough about them. I don't support like digital stuff, so none of that matters to me. The reason I might care about the NES Mini is if it's like the Atari Flashback 2, in that it can easily have a cartridge slot installed in it, then it could be fascinating. But this is Nintendo. This is not some guy who was a fan of Atari stuff, happened to have full reign to do whatever the hell he wanted with their hardware. This is Nintendo, and this is their big product for this Christmas. I really doubt they're going to make it easy to put a cartridge slot in it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even know how they're running these games. It's not like they're probably not putting in full NES hardware into this anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's also the Famicom Mini, right?
So the NES Mini is what we're getting in North America and presumably Europe as well. Although theirs might look slightly different because the NES over there had like a slightly different label on the lid. It was I think it just said Nintendo, and it said like PAL version or European version or something like that. It actually said that right on the box.
Okay.
But in Japan, the NES never came out. What they got was the Famicom, which looks completely different. But I guess they're getting the exact same machine. It's just going to look like a Famicom.
Oh, interesting. So, the game library is the same?
That I don't know. I would imagine they changed it because, first of all, the games would have to be Japanese.
Right, and the ones that are popular in Japan would probably be different than the ones in North America.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. That's actually a good question. I wish we had thought to look into that a little.
Oh, well, so those of you that are interested, feel free to look it up and figure out for yourself.
Yeah, that thought process brought to you by Chip.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, because I didn't think of that shit. That's why we got you, Chip. You know
hey, I can think of things.
You know what you're doing, man. So are we good on that subject?
I think so. I think we've reached what we actually know.
All right then. Hey. All right. Next up, I'd like to give a quick shout out to a guy named Colin. He is a Patreon backer, and he is at the appropriate tier for a shout out. Colin, thank you very much for continuing to support this Patreon and for supporting the podcast. I really appreciate it. If anybody else wants to do that, feel free to check out the podcast. Oh, you're obviously our Patreon backers. Or wait, not necessarily. If you're on the if this is the public version, then you are not. Haha. This comes out like a month earlier for Patreon backers. You can get it early if you want, or you can actually get subjects in there, or you can just get shout outs if you're interested. You can go to the Patreon page and do that if you're interested.
Thank you, Colin.
Yes, that was the whole point of that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Colin. All right, so moving on. Speaking of shout-outs, now we have another one from Kyle. Kyle Vaughn. He got to pick a subject for us. However, he actually decided he would just let us pick the subject. So this subject from Kyle Vaughn was actually selected by Chip Senkbeil.
Hello. How's it going?
Why don't you tell the nice folks what subject you picked on Kyle's behalf?
Okay, so Kyle, you had mentioned earlier about collecting a complete sealed collection of Dreamcast games, and I thought it'd be interesting to discuss collecting indie games, whether it's a good idea or not, kind of thoughts on indie games for the Dreamcast, that kind of aspect, both from my perspective, since I have quite a few, and Adam's perspective, because he basically has all of them that I'm aware of.
I have all of them.
Yep, so clearly Adam's the guru of indie games as well as normal games.
Ayo.
But yeah, so in terms of indie games, I definitely have quite a few. I'm actually missing some of the more popular ones, like Sturmwind, and what was another one I was missing?
You don't have Gunlord?
I do have Gunlord.
You do?
It's somewhere up there in like a corner.
Oh, okay, do you have Fast Striker?
I don't have Fast Striker.
Okay, do you have
the Pink Hope Bullets
Last
thing?
Hope Pink Bullets?
Yeah, I don't.
Or
those,
just any of the Last Hopes?
I do have. No, I think those are the three I'm missing, actually. Those three.
Okay.
So
there are more than that you're missing.
Sure, but those are the big three that I remember.
Okay. The one you'll never get is... Well, I guess we could talk about that in a bit. So, indie game collecting. First, let's just address that subject in specific. Go ahead.
All right, so... indie games. So why am I grabbing a bunch of them? Because there are people arguing, oh, it's not an official Dreamcast game, it's not worth collecting, or oh, the game is something like you could find on your phone, why would you get the Dreamcast equivalent? It could be even worse than your phone. One, I do like supporting indie developers when I can, and it's always fun to see new games pop up in the Dreamcast scene. And, to me, supporting the games that might be a little, simple or small, but manage to get a press release, helps to rejuvenate the whole community such that you get bigger things like Pure Solar, which is a pretty large game. It was for which platform?
Originally it was for the Genesis.
Originally for the Genesis, but they basically remade it, new graphics and all that stuff for the Dreamcast. And you have other large games, like Sturmwind and Gunlord and that kind of stuff as well. You don't really get those big games as much if you don't see the backing in between those big games with the smaller ones. So to me, I just like supporting whatever games I see come out. If a person sees that no Dreamcast game's getting supported for a couple of years while they're trying to make a game for it, they may not have the motivation to finish it, right? Because it's Dreamcast independent scene is definitely a heavily motivation. Sure, some will create releases through a Kickstarter support or just like a store that they sell them, but it's definitely a passion project because you could definitely put your time and efforts into other things and make more money. Put it on the PC or put it on other platforms as well. So that's one aspect I like from getting the indie games and collecting them, is just supporting the developers as they make them. Now, I did get some games that are older and have been out for a while, and I don't think the developers will see money directly for those because it's being sold by someone else that's selling indie games. But one, I like to support some of the stores that sell them. Like, I'm trying to remember what the store it was that, Adam, you had actually supported at one point, saying they had a...
Red Spot Game?
There we go. So I like supporting some of the stores that try to also bring back and support some of these indie scenes, right? But also, it's just fun to see some of these games appear. It's like, yeah, okay, I just got a new game for the Dreamcast. I'm not so concerned that it's one that was published by Sega, although usually the games by Sega are a lot better than by a small indie developer. It's just nice to have more games to add to your collection instead of saying, okay, this is the whole collection. It's pretty exciting to see, okay, I have all the games up to this point, and then it's 2016, and 5 new games came out, or however many are out this year, right? It's an excitement. It still adds some fun draw, but if you don't want to collect indie games, then it's like, okay, you know exactly when they've ended, so it kind of ruins some of the mystery of, will there be another game you need to collect, right? So that's kind of why I'm collecting.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, man. I'm also, he said it really well. Plus, I'm just a Dreamcast super fan, so I'm just going to support, pretty much anything that comes out on the Dreamcast at this point. I love that console, and I love collecting for it. It's just, it's a lot of fun. But I was actually thinking it might be kind of fun to go through a list of the games and see which ones you've got. So there's 32 at this point in time. At the time we record this podcast, there are 32 independent games. Now, what qualifies is a game that had a pressed disc release, was packaged together, and was sold for the Sega Dreamcast. So, like, if some guy makes it on his computer and he burned it and he's like, okay, that's my game, like, that doesn't count.
Right.
Okay. The first one up is Alice's Mom's Rescue.
Got it.
Okay. Cool Herders.
Got it.
Actually, we're also going to say a little factoid about each one of these. Alice's Mom's Rescue came out of France. Cool Herders came out of the U.S. Okay. This one I know you don't have, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. Dream Para Para.
Nope, don't have that one.
That is the one and only independent game to come out of China, specifically Hong Kong. And you would think there'd be more, but that was it. That was one. I have it. It's like easily the least common one on the console. It took me forever to find a copy of that game, but I did. It's basically I showed it in a video a few years ago. It's like a dance game, and it comes with this like weird controller, and the controller is absolutely required for you to be able to run the game. So there are pirated copies of it out there, but you won't be able to play it. But if you ever find it, man, pick it up because it is far and away the hardest one to get. Ducks.
Yes.
Ducks 1.1.
Yes, I think.
Really?
I think
Most
so.
people don't have that one because Ducks 1.1 was a bonus disc inside of another re-release of Ducks.
You're right. Yeah, I think I do have that one. I'll have to check.
Yeah, Ducks 1.5.
Do have that one.
A Lancer and Philia.
I don't remember for that one.
You have 2 copies of that one.
Okay, yeah. So there you go.
Okay, I know he does because we talked about it. Ducks, all the Ducks games, by the way, came out of Germany. A Lancer and Philia came out of France. Fast Striker.
No.
Okay, that one came out of Germany. Feet of Fury.
Yep.
That one came out of the U.S. That was actually the first independent game ever for the Dreamcast, 2003.
Huh.
This one's debatable whether or not it counts. Frog Feast. And the reason that one's debatable is they sold it. They made 100 copies, but it's on a CDR. It's incredibly rare, like incredibly rare. The last time I saw one online, it sold for something like $600.
Wow.
I bought it for it was $10 when they bought it originally. I have it. It's also far and away the worst independent game. Like not even close. Like it is pure unadulterated shit. Like it shouldn't exist.
Okay, well I don't have that one.
Okay, you probably don't. It's also the only one I would say. Even if you're the most diehard Dreamcast fan after me, don't ever get that one. It's not worth it. It's the only one I ever regretted buying.
Huh?
And
but you paid $10 for it
until I found out how much it was worth. Then I didn't regret it anymore.
Yeah.
Fruity.
I have that one.
That one came out of Austria actually.
Huh.
That one's cool because that one costs like $5.
It also doesn't come in the standard jewel case.
It does.
Does it?
No, it comes in a DVD case.
That's right.
This one's also debatable whether or not it counts. Geist Force.
I know the name. I don't think I actually have it, though.
Geist Force was an early Dreamcast game made by Sega that was supposed to be like a Star Fox competitor. And it ran on development hardware. And it turned out that Sega canceled it for some reason. So the hardware it made wasn't the final iteration of the Dreamcast. A beta of it got into the hands of some release group. And they actually went to the trouble of forcing it to work. They got it all the way to the point where it could work on standard hardware.
Huh.
Then they actually took it to a disc pressing service and had like cases, manuals, all that shit, and they sold it.
Wow.
But they told everybody fully that's what they were doing. But Geist Force is a cool one, and it's hard to get.
Surprised they're legally allowed to do that.
Sega doesn't care.
Huh.
Ghost Blade.
Yes.
Came out of Germany. That was a cool one. Also, again, debatable whether or not it counts. The Dreamcast release of Gran Turismo 2.
I have none of the Dreamcast stuff.
Oh, you really should. Those are fantastic. Gunlord.
Yeah, I think I have that.
You sure?
I think so.
That was Mark from Classic Game Room's 2011 Game of the Year.
Yeah, I think I've got that.
That was a cool fucking game. A lot of people said it's very much like Turrican. Inhabitants.
Yes, I've got that one.
Yeah, that's a cool one. That's from the States. Gunlord is from Germany. iRides.
Got that one?
That's a good one. That was the last one made in the U.S.
Huh. And that's the one that says that it was specifically says it's powered by ClickTOS on the back, I think.
I think a lot of the Goat Game ones do. Because I think that's what they usually used. Last Hope.
Don't think I have that.
That was the Red Spot Games version. Later, it was re-released as Last Hope Pink Bullets by Neo Geo Dev Team. They basically switched publishers, and they also changed parts of the game to make it easier because people thought it was too hard. And they also switched a lot of the bullets to pink to make you feel kind of like a wuss because you couldn't beat the hard version.
Huh.
So you don't have either of those?
No, I don't think so.
Leona's Tricky Adventure.
Got it.
Yeah, that one's pretty cool. Comes out of Spain. Makipai.
Is that the Mahjong thing?
Yeah, Mahjong thing.
Got it.
Yeah, that's a U.S. release. Metal Gear Solid Dreamcast.
U.S. release for Mahjong. Interesting.
Yeah. Neo Zyxu, or Neo XYX.
I think I have that one.
Yeah, I think you do too. Also out of Germany. Orion's Puzzle Collection.
Got it.
That one comes out of France. Pure Solar.
Definitely got it.
Yeah, I know you were huge in that. He's got the collector's edition with the little figurines. I have the same thing.
Yep.
He has, there was 999 of those. He has like number 976. He's got like nearly the last one.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. At first I thought that was an American release. Turns out that one's actually also based in Europe somewhere. Redux.
I think I've got it.
Yeah. Redux 1.1.
Don't know about that one.
Both of those come out of Germany. Rush Rally Racing.
Don't think I have that one.
You should get that one. That's a cool, it's like Micro Machines over the screen, like, or over the head racing game.
Huh.
It's pretty cool. That's also out of Germany. Stormwind.
I don't have that one, right?
No, you don't.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have that one.
I know his collection better than he does.
Having to consult the Atom for my own collection.
Stormwind is very possibly the best independent game to be released, and I mean that not in like the content of the game, but like the nature in which it presents itself. Stormwind, in my opinion, is the only independent game that has ever been released that actually very plausibly could have come out in the Dreamcast's like original lifespan. Like that could have been released and you would have believed that was a normal Dreamcast game.
Even over Pure Solar?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Pure Solar is a quality title, don't get me wrong. But if that had been released by Sega directly, people would have been like, why does this look so OG?
Huh.
Whereas Stormwind actually looks like it kind of belongs. Tekken 3. Bleamcast.
Yeah, I don't have any Bleamcast.
I know, I'm just bringing it up. For the listeners.
Uh-huh.
Wind and Water Puzzle Battles.
I think I got like a re-release of that or something.
Yeah, you got the re-release. I didn't even know there was a re-release until he showed it to me. So Wind and Water Puzzle Battles out of Germany came from Red Spot Games originally. And Red Spot Games, I believe, no longer actually exists. But yours, I think, says Dragon Box or something.
Which is the store I got it from, I thought.
I don't know where you got it from.
It's the store that you told me to...
Oh, BitStation?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, BitStation is a cool store. They're an American store that sells a lot of the independent Dreamcast games. They sell that one. I didn't know they had changed the text on it, but I guess that makes sense because Red Spot Games doesn't exist anymore. And then finally, the latest release, Zia and the Goddesses of Magic.
Got it.
Yeah, that's a cool one. I'm actually an NPC in that game. You should support it. Comes
Hey.
out of France. Hey. All right, but yeah, so the point is there's a lot of cool indie games out there for the Dreamcast. We are both in agreement that you should collect them. They're cool. They're good to support. But I know a lot of people who are collecting Dreamcast stuff who don't care at all about them because they think they're no different than like NES clone carts and stuff like that. And that's all open to a matter of opinion, I guess. But in our opinion, you should do it because they're fun and they're cool to collect. And honestly, there's not that many of them.
Yep. Most of them don't cost that much these days.
Yeah, most of them are pretty cheap, especially because a lot of, even the ones that were expensive, get a lot of re-releases. The hardest one to get, honestly, if you just care about any version of the game as opposed to having like every edition or whatever, Stormwind. Stormwind's the hardest one only because, well, other than Dream Para Para. Stormwind is the hardest, I guess, known one. A, because like I said before, it's probably the most quality one, so it's got the most demand. And B, it was published by Red Spot Games and they don't exist anymore. So it could be re-released possibly by
someone else.
Yeah, but even hell, BitStation. I don't know if you guys are going to ever hear this, but you guys should maybe give them a call. I don't know, but it'd be nice to get more copies of that produced. But anyway, I guess we can move on to the next subject. Thank you, Kyle Vaughn, for your subject that was selected by Chip.
Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah. Okay, so the next subject up here was actually one you wanted to talk about.
Oh, I forgot how you pronounce his name.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
There we go, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's making a video game, which is kind of amusing.
It is. I need to know more about this, Chip.
Right, so I literally just read an article about it right before this podcast, and so I'm going to try to recollect, you know those words I can't pronounce, like Glover. Recollect what it said, which I've already forgotten half of it.
Well, I can't help you with that, man. I didn't read the article.
Yeah, it's a big mistake. Okay, so essentially, it sounds like he's getting involved with a game that the developers say is similar to Minecraft, but it's in space. So you kind of cultivate your own worlds and solar systems and stuff, and you basically can like add mining and I think trading posts and other things to it. Makes you kind of think that you're basically doing a sandbox, build your own version of what was that game that everyone
No Man's Sky?
No Man's Sky, that everyone said like, you know, was basically wrong with everything it said it was doing. Which I think they're actually getting sued or something now for it.
I hadn't heard that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Or they're about to be. I think they're being investigated by something from Europe, like the fair trade stuff.
That's interesting.
But anyway, point is though, so he's involved along with other people, and basically it sounds like you can make your own galaxy or something, and you can share with other people, and you'll be able to access not only Neil deGrasse Tyson's, but also Bill Nye the Science Guys and other people's who are also famous that I've totally forgotten.
Stephen Hawking?
I don't know actually about Stephen Hawking, but
what?
But
fuck it, I don't want it. Then.
But some other famous physicists and other people are basically trying to make it as realistic as possible, and they're saying they want to make it somewhat educational, but then they say they really want to make it really entertaining. How they balance this, I don't know. It's just interesting that Neil deGrasse Tyson is actually involved with the video game. Apparently, his daughter, I guess he has a daughter. I don't know anything about him, but the article said his daughter asked him to get involved, and at first he said no, he wasn't interested at all, and then he got involved. And now he's like, actually, it's a lot of fun. So. Apparently, we can bring down really smart people to have fun making video games. Yeah,
that'd be really cool. I'd be very interested to see what a scientifically designed game with his stamp of approval on it would be like.
Yeah, if it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the game itself would be good. Interesting would be for sure. Because he's obviously a really smart dude. Duh. But did you ever see Cosmos? His show.
Nope.
Oh, it's fantastic. I won't talk about it here because apparently you don't know it, but he's very...
Well, you should talk about it so the viewers know.
Well, Cosmos was an educational show. It was a remake of the show by Carl Sagan, starring Neil deGrasse Tyson, where it just kind of shows you, aspects of science throughout the planet and, of course, throughout space and everything. It was a really cool short series, but it only did one season, not because it didn't get renewed, but because he lost interest and didn't want to do another season. It was just too much work, which is too bad. But hopefully that means he gets at least one good game out there, since he got one really good show out there.
Yeah, that'd be great if it was good.
Yeah, I like him because they always bring him in as some sort of voice of credibility for something. Even in the new, you see Batman v Superman?
Yes.
They actually brought him in and just had him be they just told him do a scene as if Superman was real. What would be the impact of him on the universe? And he sits there and just kind of goes off well, this is what it would be like. He forces us to question our own position in the universe, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you gave more gravity to that movie than anything else did.
I totally forgot that part of the movie.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. And he was just in the fucking trailer, and it was more than anything else. So I'm pro Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's basically what I'm saying here.
So there we go. We'll have to keep track of that. I don't know what system it's going to come out for. It might just be PC, because it sounds like it's going to be pretty beefy.
Yeah, who knows?
But yeah, so there you go.
That would be really cool. But yeah, I guess that's kind of it, unless you have any other thoughts on anything else.
No, I just read the article and thought it was funny.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess that wraps up this episode of We Suck and we don't have a name for this podcast yet. We really need to buckle down and come up with the name of this.
Call it the Adam Cast.
No.
The Koralik Cast.
No, we had a couple of suggestions that were pretty amusing, but nothing that's really sticking. I don't know.
Call it the Great Adam Cast.
No, that's just arrogant.
Man of the Adam Cast.
All right. Anyway, that'll do it.
Adamlicious Cast.
Thank you. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, this comes out a month earlier on Patreon if you're at all interested in that. And that would be the end of this show. Thank you very much. I would wish to thank, of course, Kyle, Corey, and Colin for their continued support. And
Thank
Chip,
you.
Yeah, and Chip here for being a boss.
Hey, I'm a boss.
Yeah, Chip's the boss.
Apparently.
And Remy, we miss you, dude.
Remy!
You're the man, Remy.
Oh, and real quick, even though you're listening to this now, if you want to listen to it on Podbean or iTunes, it should be available on both once the public release comes out. So it's timed with the public release. Yeah, generally the podcast comes out on Patreon within the first week of the month, and generally it comes out on YouTube pretty much the final days of the month. So there you go. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you all later. Bye. Bye.